I found another one, which most people, I think is another. But back to my theory, so of like heritage and DNA passed on in your bloodline, the acrophobia, the fear of heights, the fear of being high. Like, I'll be honest, I don't like. Actually, I tell you what. All right, is it the fear of heights or is it the fear of falling? Because I've climbed mountains, right? Especially in my younger days as a soldier, we've climbed mountains and I get to the top and I'm quite proud of myself and I have no fear. I'm high up, but I've no fear. This acrophobia is not a thing. But I've also, in my younger days as soldiers, I've had to abseil off of bridges, off of mountain cliffs and do some real high wire assault courses. And yeah, you really have to use your momentum and use your adrenaline and really overcome that fear to get you through. But fear of falling is what I would say most people have over the fear of heights.
See, I don't have a fear of heights. I love airplanes. I love flying. I love going up high. I love being up high. Love mountains, walking up volcanoes, that sort of thing. But it's the fear of falling,
Yeah.
definitely the fear of falling. I jumped out of a plane, done parachute jump, and I'd do it again now in a heartbeat. I love it. I love the adrenaline. But and it's weird because you're falling down out of the sky, but it's like because oh, I've got a parachute, I don't have that fear of falling. But it's really weird, but you are falling out, out of an aeroplane out of the sky. But yeah, like if I go up a mountain or go up high, I have that sense of achievement, like, oh, I'm up here, I'm up really high. But then if there's an element for a split second where I think, oh my gosh, look how far down that is. If I fell, I'd definitely die. That's it. I'd splat, I'd be dead. Then I get that funny feeling in my stomach and I'm like, oh, the butterflies kick in and I get a little bit of that fear of falling, but not about being up high. It's weird.
Mm.
So,
Strange.
so I'm quite like I'm not a fan of heights, but when you're up high and you get like that tingle in your leg
Mm.
and like the butterflies, and that's when like I've been to the top of the Burj Khalifa in
So have I. I love that. Did you go up in the
yeah
gold elevator?
yeah, and you go all
Yeah.
the way to the top and you've got these big, there's no roof on it, these big open platforms. You've got these glass barriers that obviously stop you
Yeah.
from going off, but you can like put your arm, so you'll have like the glass barriers and you can like put your arm through them and you
Hmm.
feel like the wind and everything. Like
Wow.
I was fine up there, but I've also been, so there's a building in London, I don't know what the actual name is. It's near Fenchurch Street Station. People call it the cheese grater. It's the one that goes out like that.
Is it the
Um,
Strand? The no.
Maybe it like
I
curves
think I know what
out
you
at the
mean.
top.
Yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah. I know what you
glass at the
mean.
top of the building is sort of like that, and you
Right.
can. I've been up there, and you can sort of like lean against this glass at like an angle, and you are, if you look down, you are looking down at a street. I mean, the glass isn't at a
Wow.
huge angle, like a couple of degrees, but that's sort of that puts the butterflies, gets to them
Yeah,
down.
because if the glass went, there's nothing
Yeah,
stopping you. Like
no,
yeah,
that's
you're
it. You're
falling to
gone.
the street.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but like I don't know what it is because I've climbed mountains as well. Like on my course and stuff, I have to go out and collect data from climbing mountains and stuff. And I've been up to Scotland, climbed a few things. So
How did you feel when you went up the mountain?
I felt fine.
That's
Oh,
it.
So that
funny.
yeah,
That's it. Because the fear of your death at the top of that mountain is nothing like the fear of death when you're leaning the side of that glass
yeah,
building. Like, because the glass building is, you're staring at a possible outcome. Whereas at the top of a mountain, the possible outcomes, death is way, way, way away. Do you know what I mean?
so
Whereas that glass building, that glass goes and you're going with it. Like,
um,
shit.
I think I
That's,
know where
yeah,
my sort
thinking
of
about it.
going back to like the genetics that it's passed on and stuff. I think I know where my fear of like heights come in because my mum, they won't mind me saying this. My mum has this really weird fear of. I don't know if you go to like these big shopping centres and you have like glass floors, like parts of them
Hmm.
are glass. I think
Yeah,
they've got
yeah.
it in the Tower Bridge in London, and you like walk across the glass. and you can see through it and stuff.
Yeah.
She can't walk on the glass.
Nah.
So me and my brother, we always like try and push her towards the glass. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. But my dad, when he was younger, when he was about 6 or 7, he used to sleepwalk a lot. And my nan found him, obviously old style windows, no balcony, found him with the windows open about 2 a.m, sitting on the window ledge with his legs dangling out the second floor window. And then his windows got boarded up and everything. But I think my fear of sort of heights is definitely passed through the family.
Interesting. But you never do you think, as a young person looking up to your parents, like, do you think you saw them inflict that fear on you, or do you feel like it's just part of you inherited that?
I think I just inherited it. Like, there's nothing I've gone, don't do this.
My mum has a major fear of heights and flying, and I remember when we came back here from America, I remember hearing her. I was quite young, and I remember hearing her say she was never going to fly again, and she never did. She was never going to fly again. She hated being up high, and I do remember that having a bit of an effect on me when I was younger, because I remember thinking, I was questioning it in my mind. Why? What's wrong with being up high? What's wrong with going on an aeroplane? Because also as a child, I found it very exciting, very intriguing. Everything's amazing, isn't it, when you're a child? So I remember thinking, oh gosh, I shouldn't like being up high, and aeroplanes are scary. And I do remember thinking that after I heard my mum conversing about her fear. But the flip side of that is that my dad, was in the Air Force, jumping out of planes, flying planes, going all over the world, up the mountains, So, and I loved when I would converse with him and he would tell me about all these exciting things that he was doing. He would tell me how you fly a plane. He would tell me how many times he'd jumped out of it that month. And so I think that side of it gives me the side where I love flying. I love getting in a plane. I want to fly a plane. I love jumping out of planes. Like, I've got that from, I believe, the positive effect from him. So it's funny because I think maybe if he were similar to how my mum was, I think I would be the opposite.
Okay.
Because I do remember both those conversations having an effect on me. But I'm glad that positively it's gone the other way. So
yes. So I was going to say, right, so when it comes to the mind, conscious and subconscious, I read it earlier today that your mind it's like the power of auto-suggestion. And what that does is it plants from the conscious into the subconscious, but that can only be done effectively through the use of emotions. Now, we're wired to normally see the negatives in things. We have to override that to see the positives. So be more optimistic rather than pessimistic, But when you're trying to literally undo, say, trauma, that's at the far end of the scale, by overriding it with something, you have to do it with emotion. You can really, really trick the mind into believing with the power of emotion. It's normally when it's a good one. So let's say like the love you had for your dad, because he was talking about the positives of flying, and you embrace that with the emotion of love, or feelings of positive like that, it's now in you. The subconscious takes it on. Whereas,
I love it.
Do you get what I mean? So you were fortunate to have that. However, if some people only have a mother and that mother only implants, which I'm going to move on to the next phobia, but a spider, and she's really petrified of it, like inflicts that jolt of fear and scare into the child, that child now acknowledges spiders create this feeling of emotion, and that conscious mind fed that to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is unbiased. It takes it for exactly as it is. It planted it as bad, So
it takes it literally, doesn't it?
For real, arachnophobia is the number one phobia worldwide. People fear spiders
Wow.
more than any other thing on the planet. And there's a lot of us on this planet, and there's a lot of spiders too. Now, through the whole conversation we've had, I wonder why this is. Is it because of our DNA? Spiders are venomous in most parts of the world. Like, they will bite you and they'll F you up. You know what I mean? You'll be in a bad way. And you can't see them coming. They're like the silent killers, aren't they? And there's big ones. They're like bird-eating spiders, right? Camelback spiders, right? In Afghanistan and all these places that have flipping big killing spiders. And then you just get your friendly little house spider that doesn't want to eat you, doesn't want to bite you. It will just happily live amongst your attic or wherever. Now, I think DNA has a massive part to play in arachnophobia. But I also believe that people have a massive part to play, because, you know, I've seen some people, and by the way, just so you know, when I was looking it up, women fear spiders more than men for some reason. I don't know why that is. I didn't really get to the nitty gritty of it, but that's like worldwide too. So, but
I'm
why?
gonna love this conversation. I'm gonna love this
Why?
conversation. Okay. Can I go, please?
Yeah.
As the woman of the group. Okay. I love spiders.
Wow. I wasn't
And
expecting this.
I think a year ago, I was holding a massive tarantula at this show that I went to in Cornwall, and they did the show, you know, like they've got all of these like you know, bearded dragons, tarantulas, and all these big things. And this guy was like, does anybody in the audience want to come up and hold them and touch them? My hand was straight up. And part of it was going to go into the whole like DNA thing and the children thing where they watch you. So part of it was because I had little eyes watching me, and I don't want those little eyes to have fears because of me. So part of it was that, but also part of it was when I was a kid, I absolutely loved bugs, spiders, like they were my friends. It sounds strange, but I
That's
was a
cool.
kid, so don't judge me. I used to talk to them, I used to give them names, because in my head, I thought if I name them, they're not that scary. So I used to name them and I'd be like, hi Bob, hi Fred, and these little spiders, you know, ladybugs, whatever. And that was my way of kind of like making them less scary. And I actually used to hate it if somebody would stamp on a spider or whack a spider or kill it. I would, if I saw a spider in my room, I would pick it up and put it outside. Because I would believe that there was a little family waiting for it. Anyway, so I kind of, whenever I'm around children and there's a spider and they start, oh, there's a creepy crawly, I kind of try and do that, and I try and implement the whole, oh, that's Fred. I know it sounds crazy, but I just make out I know it, it's my friend. And it's really funny seeing the effect on that child. They suddenly are like, oh, who's Fred? Oh, they just suddenly stop. Not every time, but they most of the time they kind of, the fear has diluted slightly. But yeah, anyway, so my mum was petrified of spiders, absolutely petrified of spiders, but I was always like, oh, it's fine, and I would go and pick it up, and she would be like, what are you doing? Don't touch it, don't go near it.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
crazy,
would go
isn't it?
and pick it up and I would put it outside. And so yeah, like I had this massive tarantula, you know, not last year, the year before, when I was in Cornwall, and the little eyes that I had with me watching me were like, whoa. But then they came right close and they weren't freaking out. They were like, oh, actually, I might have a hold. Yeah, because if she can do it, I can do it.
That
So,
is amazing. Leadership right there.
wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
do you think that? Well, firstly, I just want to say, if anyone listening is scared of spiders, it has been scientifically proven that if you put the conkers that grow on trees, take the shell off, and you put them in like the corners of the room, it like deters spiders. They give off like a chemical scent
That is true.
that sends them away. So if anyone listening and you don't like spiders, there you go.
Love that, Lucas. Yes.
That is true.
You know, I've seen people put conkers in their dashboards of their cars, and I never knew why that was. And it is like, I heard that you put conkers around the place, and spiders don't like it. Next thing you know, people start wearing conker necklaces.
Do you think like the fear of spiders, sort of, you're going back to the male and the female split? Do you think it stems back to sort of, or the stereotypical male who's supposed to be all manly and strong and supposed to sort of protect your family? Do you think they're in their DNA back in the day, even though he would the dad of the house was scared, he would have to face his fear and deal with this spider and sort of protect his family?
I do agree with you, Luca. I think that.
Do you think that's sort of been carried through, which is what I meant?
I think we just lost Lucas there.
Am I back?
Is he still there? Yeah, he's there.
Oh,
Wicked. Sorry, man. Yes, I think, Lucas, I agree in a way that it's in. I'm not going to say I'm a scientist. I'm not. XY chromosome and is it XX chromosome, women?
Mm-hmm.
So that Y gives us that other part of being what makes us man, basically. And I think it is that drives us to need to fulfill our purpose as man. And part of that purpose is to just attract female, that's it, bottom line, to procreate. And maybe it's a hero concept to it. You have to save the woman. She will therefore see you as a protector.
Yeah.
And if, killing off a venomous life, taking spider, and you do that, she will trust you will do it again because you've proved it in the past. Now, whether we need to do it in this day and age to a household spider, let's just evaluate the threat. It's non-threatening, so suppose you don't need to do it. However, if it's ingrained in your DNA, sometimes it's very hard to overwrite that. I know a lot of people struggle with that complex, in a sense that younger men tend to overreact in social situations, not knowing to look above that DNA, that core need to be seen as alpha or attract females. I've seen it in clubs and pubs. So, with the influence of alcohol, sometimes they just go to this primitive state. They're not even in the right frame of mind. So I think that does exist. And bringing it back to, as simple as squishing a spider, they have to prove themselves. And, let's talk about that XY and that XX. Is that why women are afraid of spiders? They don't have the Y in them to...
I do actually know quite a few guys or boys that are scared of spiders.
Maybe they're more feminine.
That's what I was then going to say.
Because I do know a few girls who are quite masculine, and they'll openly say that they carry more testosterone than a normal amount of women.
But equally, I used to have a friend, she's female, and she is the most petrified person I know of spiders. So yeah, I kind of think it's a mix for me. I think I equally know.
Do you want to know what I think as well? I think we are dawning an age where we are no longer living the way we used to. When we developed as let's say way back when we were sharing caves with wolves, it was very distinctive. You were definitely male and you were definitely female because that's how you needed to be at the time. There was no mix mash. That's exactly it. Plus, we weren't ingesting as much chemicals. We weren't influenced by artificial light. We weren't, living in the current climate like we are now. I do believe the current climate now is kind of shaping our breeding. We're breeding a different type of human. We couldn't take living back then, like they wouldn't be able to handle living back now, but it still doesn't override the DNA. So let's go back to the breeding of dogs, for example. Dogs are bred to be suited for the current climate. Hence why we've got all these mixed breeds as they come. Us as human beings, it's kind of similar. We've bred ourselves to be a lot slimmer, a lot leaner. We have more cognitive thinking, and maybe the chromosome imbalance now is breeding girls that say, well, we don't need alpha males, we need alpha females. Give her a few more, a bit more testosterone in her body. Do you know what I mean?
See, I also going
and
back
reverse
to
on
the,
men, I don't know.
the like environment and the DNA thing. I grew up with 2 older brothers. So I think that's where as well, I'm like, yeah, I'll hold the tarantula. Yeah, I was climbing trees with them. I was jumping over walls with them. I was, running around. I would be used as the goalie when they were with all their mates, because they were like, oh, we need a goalie. Oh, Chuck Herring goal. So, so I think I'm not, I'm just saying I spent a lot of time with XY growing up, even though I'm XX. So,
Influence.
Yeah. So I think as well, yeah, they were kind of my peers because they were both older than me. I was the baby. And so, yeah, I was kind of quite tomboyish, I would say. Although I am feminine, obviously I'm female, I'm feminine, but I do think that had played a part in it. Definitely.
One thing that I like to talk about too, I would like to talk more about, is how men are XY chromosome. So therefore, where women are XX, they're like feminine, right? Having an X chromosome in your system also makes you part feminine. And I think too many men, especially with toxic masculinity rather than divine masculinity, they feed off the need to be a man more than tap into the feminine. Like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel, you must, because if you have a daughter, how is she ever going to know that you care if you're so shut off? And a lot of that, though, plays in the part of a woman. Women need to understand that men still need nurturing. It isn't once you reach a certain age that stops. Like, being protected by a woman, it's such a deep ancestral belief of Black people especially. Like, you must still nurture your husband as a baby. I know that sounds crazy, but we're so desensitized now. People aren't seeing it because they think they need this man to be all alpha all the time. And it has a massive whiplash effect. Like, it goes against the man because he's only being 50% of what he is. If you want a full-bodied man, you need to acknowledge that as a man, you are X and Y.
That doesn't too, he's emotional too. He has the right to be, and I think when that is suppressed, and the whole I've got to be macho, or I've got to be the breadwinner, or I've got to be everybody, I can't show emotion, I can't show this. Oh, that's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of, not being a man. I think that's really dangerous because it's not good. And I mean, I know we're not talking about that subject tonight, but the highest percentage of suicide is males.
Yeah.
And
we should talk about it on another one. We'll go into a bigger elite thinking club on that one.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. So let's go back to what we were talking about. So I'm gonna take it one step further and say that with this phobia thing, did you know that some film directors knew how to tap in to this DNA? So into this phobia effect, into what you cannot be taught, but you just know, you instinctively know. And I'll give you an example. There was a film called The Birds, and Liz, I think it's Alfred Hitchcock, right? And he did something that most directors didn't know at the time, but now we do know because it's out there. And I should have researched this before I came on the show, but I'm going to go with what I've been told or what I think I know. he subliminally put the sound of thunderstorms in the background of the film. So even if the scene isn't actually that scary and the music isn't actually that, like, you know, tense building, like, but the sound of thunder and storms coming triggers something in us. It puts us on high alert. It feeds into our DNA to say, find shelter, find safety quick, because you can't be out in this storm for too long. Isn't that incredible? Like, he knew that. He tapped into that. He goes, I'm going to make people shit themselves, and they don't even know why. They don't even know why. They're so on edge. Literally watching like the most innocent thing, like a baby lamb running through the grass. But if you're listening to the sound of thunder, you're thinking, why is this baby lamb making me feel weird? So yeah.
I think he knew a lot about psychology. I think he did, because all of his stuff is kind of quite like that, isn't it? So
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Clever guy.
They can. Yeah, do it, definitely.
Have you not seen it, Lucas?
It's an old film. It's an
very old film, and I didn't find it that scary. But
no,
for its time, like, it scared people. And yeah, funny what scares people and what don't. So, for example, have you seen the film It?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's your take on that?
As a kid, it did petrify me. But I never had a fear of clowns. I was fine. Like, if I saw a clown after watching it, it was fine. But when I actually watched it, yeah, it freaked me out. Him being down the drain freaked me out. It's like, how did you fit down there? And what are you doing down there?
So there was I got a funny story about that, to be honest. When they remade the film and it come out, I can't remember how long ago it was. About
a few years ago, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. So I used to work in like a local sports centre, and everyone like that, we all got on really well. And there was sort of a trend going around. I wouldn't say really a trend, but people used to dress up as clowns and used to jump out at people. And one of my friends that I was working with, he finished his shift. I took over from him, and he left. It must have been about 6 o'clock. It was like in the winter, and it was quite dark. And he said, I'm going to walk home. He lived like a few minutes around the corner. And he was back within a few minutes, and no one really said anything. And then our manager, he asked, he said, aren't you going home? And we got it out of him. A clown jumped. He had a massive phobia of clowns, and he still does this day. I don't blame him. Wow. But someone had jumped out from behind like a big, like the sports centre had like those big, what are they called? Like where you put the rubbish and stuff with the
wheelie bins.
Like big, a dumpster, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And one of them jumped out from behind there, just outside of our sports centre, and he ran all the way back to our reception, didn't leave. He's phoned his mum to come pick him up.
Wow.
Oh.
So
wow. So that again is the conscious mind now in feeding the subconscious. Now he is affected because that's an emotional thing that he's just gone through. You know what I mean? He's now his mind has now said, clown, remember the emotion, fuck that. You know what I mean? So
danger.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think as well, it's because it's such a strong emotion, it's such a strong feeling that it causes the reaction of the effect in your brain, that it literally can transform how somebody reacts and how it can stop people from doing things. It can literally, like, he had to call his mum to come pick him up, and he probably didn't want to have to do that, but